Дамы и господа, встречайте Валерия Чичибая,
Доброе утро.
Данила Хомутовский и Ярослав Ладыгин. Вживую с Тарасовской в утреннем шоу на радио «Аристократы».
Ура! 1 сентября вас, малыши!
11:32 в свободном городе. Продолжается утренняя передача на радиостанции «Аристократы». И мы, перекусив, сделав бранч, мы готовы продолжать нашу программу. У нас первый гость сегодня. У нас много гостей. Человек, который приехал к нам из королевства Нидерланды. Режиссер.
Режиссер социальных роликов.
Прежде всего, социальной рекламы, прославившийся режиссер, который приехал на фестиваль социальной видеорекламы Molodiya Festival в рамках кинорезиденции. 29 августа был мастер-класс. Флоріс Кінґма у нас в гостях. Флоріс, nice to see you here.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
So as far as we understand, the masterclass itself was
on the 28th of
29th,
August.
yeah?
29th.
Well, the course is, I did several things. First, I started off with a lecture, which was for like 100 people or something, talking about advertising in general and how I make and produce and direct commercials. And I also talked a little bit about social advertising, how I think you make the best social advertising. And after that, I gave a workshop. So now I have a smaller group, and they're all making a film. And that is, 3 days is that.
What is the difference between commercial advertising and social advertising? What is general difference?
Well, social advertising is more to change human behavior in for the better of the planet, and normal advertising is just to make people buy more beer. So that's quite not as important, I would say.
Okay.
But if we are
beer is important, don't get me wrong, but sell more beer is not important.
If we are talking about the production of the commercial and social video advertising, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is money, of course, because for to make an ad for beer or then there's a lot of money involved, and a lot of people need to make decisions whether it's good enough, etc. And for social advertising, there hardly never is money. It's always people contribute voluntarily because they believe that what you're making social advertising for is important to be made, if you catch my drift. So in general, there's just not a lot of money to make it. So
how do you think does the social advertising work? I mean,
it depends, actually, because that's also something I talked about during the lecture, that a lot of social advertising I see worldwide is always quite depressing, so
it's like everything bad, and
it's always making really almost want to kill myself, don't get this wrong, listeners, but it's always really, really depressing, dark, moody, and I really feel that it's important that if you make social advertising, that there's always hope. And so that's what I also wanted to tell during the lecture, that if you make some social advertising, it should give, the positive side, instead of, for example, if you make social advertising about stop smoking, you can show someone who's really almost dying because he's smoking, but I think it's better if you show someone who can live because he's not smoking, if you catch the difference,
And about the people who join you in this masterclass,
yes,
and is now filming something.
Yes.
What is gonna be? What is? Can we see these films, and when and where?
Well, yeah. Well, they're supposed to finish it roughly tomorrow. But my main goal for them is just to make some social advertising. So I also told them, it's a really crash course, to make an ad in 3 days. It's really, really, really short. But it's just important that I would like to give them as much as knowledge as I can from A to Z. So from the idea to directing to how to make the final product. So and tomorrow they have seen everything during that process.
And what about you? I read that you were the financial specialist, and then become a.
I studied economics.
Yes, I mean you wasn't into
money.
Numbers.
I was in money. Yes,
money.
Yes.
And then you became a director.
Yes.
What was the moment when you decided to change the way?
Well, it's you know, it's not as heroic as it might seem, but I just could get a job at the Amsterdam Television Network, which is a local network for Amsterdam, and they were looking for a producer. So, you know, due to my economic background, I could be a producer.
Like, you know, Excel.
I used to know Excel, yes. Good question. And but for the little commercials, the small commercials, they didn't have a director. So I said, well, hey man, how about I can do one of them? And then apparently I did it funny. So they asked me for more.
How can you describe this this profession to be director? What does it look like?
What does it look like? Well, it's a great job if you manage to make a living out of it. It's very difficult for a lot of directors, you know, because okay, I made it across the line to make a good living out of directing, but it can also be quite tough when you're starting out to be able to get cool jobs, you know. And now I made it across the, you know, that I can make a living out of directing. It's a super cool job because it's quite funny, but I can get to do whatever I want. Because if I say I would like this wall yellow, they make it yellow. And if I say that's a nice car, but how about we paint it black, it's going to be black or whatever. I can change whatever I want. And it's super cool to have something in your mind and then in the end visualize it. And then there's something else which is super cool about being a director, and that is, but maybe that's my personality. I really like that if I made something, I can show it to someone, and that I get like they have to laugh about it, you know? So that I made something I can share with people and that they have to laugh about it. So I give a very positive emotion, which gives me a good feel about myself, you know?
Let's
Is that weird? Is that weird?
No, it's a good mission, I think.
Well, yeah, that's why actually I also only make funny commercials. I hope that everything, I don't know if you've seen some of my work, but I hope that, you know, most people think of ads being boring and annoying, but I hope that every ad I make is fun to watch. So it's actually, you know, like a small mini super funny film.
There is one rule in the commercial that I learned about. The commercial that make you laugh will not make you buy something. You will forget the brand.
Don't tell my clients.
Is it right?
I really don't know, because I believe that if you laugh about a film, you remember the film. And once you remember the film and you talk about people about it, you know, I saw this very funny commercial, then of course it's just very important that if you make something funny, that there's always clear branding. And if you're only laughing over the branding, you know, so you're still laughing when the branding is there, you didn't do it right. But I hear what you're saying. If it's too funny, because sometimes I talk to people who say, "Oh, I saw this commercial, was super funny," and then I ask them, "What was it about?" And I don't know. Then it's not a good ad.
Okay.
What was the problems, the themes that your group here in Kiev picked for the production? What are the social issues they choose for themselves? And is there any difference in this focuses of social advertisers in Netherlands and in Ukraine as you learned these days?
Well, the subjects they had they were given by the organization, but there were also groups who said, well, would you mind if we come up with our own idea? So there were two subjects. One is about that maybe these days parents demand too much from their kids. You know, they need to go to additional Spanish lessons, they need to go to football, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes kids need to do that much amount of stuff that they don't have time to just be a kid. So that's one subject.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. So, yeah, be a kid. Well, just play around. And the other one is about, what was it? It's about domestic violence, which is, and but people also came with the subject, maybe sometimes people talk too rough on the streets towards each other, we're not that tolerant anymore these days, so sometimes if you're in a small accident and both parties might be fault, then everybody starts yelling straight away and really hardcore. But can I ask you guys a question, actually?
Okay.
I noticed that so social advertising is very important for Ukraine in a way, because otherwise there would not be this festival which has this theme, and I would not be invited to come here. But social advertising is important in Holland, but it's not that big of an issue, it just comes along. Why is social advertising so important for the Ukrainian people?
I believe it's what you say. It's a lot of stuff we need to fix in our behavior as a social
Yes.
Organism.
Community, as a community. So a lot of stuff we have to do now, and I think that some part of the creative groups, they think that social advertising is an effective way to change the situation. But there are a lot of people that understand that we have to change.
And is that due to like what happened in the last 20 years over here, that there's a lot of social reflection about what the country used to be and what you all need to change?
Just in these recent years, yeah.
Yes.
Because before, it was not like that before.
Okay.
And everybody's saying like, we want to Europe, but nobody knows like how it's to be an European, how it's to make a European city, how it's, etc.
Yeah.
That's why I think the social advertising will help people to understand how it be.
I think it's a very, very, very positive attitude. I like it. I like it a lot, because I really think that we should have more social advertising in Holland. But I don't think the Dutch may be as self-reflective, don't look at themselves as good, maybe as you guys.
And what are the subjects in Netherlands?
Well, in Holland, it's right now. There's, for example, a subject like ecstasy. That you should not take all the ecstasy that is given, which is quite Dutch.
Do not take all the ecstasies.
Don't take
leave
all
me
the
one.
ecstasy, just leave me. No, but it's just, of course, there's also domestic violence and stuff and so forth. But I think maybe Holland is a little bit sometimes beyond that or something. So they have, other stuff. Although, 2 years ago I made a social advertising ad for tolerance, which is like a worldwide issue, I guess.
I want to ask you, who gives money for this social advertising in the Holland?
Well, in general, it's without money. So then it depends a little bit. Sometimes you do something for an organization and they have a little money. So, for example, I just made a film for against colon cancer, and then they had just a little money, and then the entire crew participates for half the fee. But for example, the commercial I made for tolerance, more tolerance, then everybody contributed for free. So in general, but let's start out with that there's no money.
So your business is to make commercial videos, not social commercial.
Now, what I aim for is I never donate money. I always aim to shoot one social ad a year. It takes me like 3 weeks, maybe a month, to make an ad. So I feel that if I contribute in being Florіс Kінґма, in being the director and getting everybody together to make a film, it helps, of course, if you make an ad and there's a director people believe in to help to participate for free. You get that? So I try to make one ad for free every year, which is social advertising.
Great. And what about the people who did not come to these lections and masterclass, but they now listen to our interview, our talk, and they want to participate? Do they have a chance, or they should wait for your next visit to the Ukraine?
I think
wonderful question.
Yes, I can only say yes. I don't know. I only know that
It's a short answer for the long question.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. No, I only know that tomorrow I'm about to give one additional lecture, if I'm correct, at the Institute of Journalism or something. So I don't know if there's still room. They can be there. I don't know if I'm saying something I shouldn't. And furthermore, it's probably next time.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Love to be here. Rock on.
Это был голландский режиссер, который приехал, Флоріс Кінґма, который приехал к нам в Украину, чтобы поработать с молодыми телевизионщиками и рекламистами и кинематографистами, чтобы мы и, в общем-то, все вместе стали лучше делать социальную рекламу и менять поведение нас с вами и нашего общества. Флоріс Кінґма удивился, что в Украине теме социальной рекламы уделяется гораздо больше внимания, чем в Голландии. И задал нам вопрос, а почему мы думаем, что это происходит таким образом? Мы подумали с Данилой Анатольевичем, что все дело в том, что нашему социальному организму надо слишком много чего поменять.